Julie Riggs and her family live in a small town in Missouri. Her husband and daughter couldn't tolerate cow's milk, so the family decided to try raw goat's milk from a local farmer. Julie describes what happened to her daughter and her husband.
A few days after she drank the milk is when she started having diarrhea, started having stomach pains, and she threw up a few times. We took her to the doctor, and he ordered a stomach x-ray. And while we were there, she had to go to the bathroom like every 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, constantly.
The family took their daughter to the local emergency room twice. When they realized how sick she was, the 9-year-old was flown to a children's hospital. To add to the ordeal, Julie's husband became ill too.
We were waiting in the waiting room, and I noticed my husband was looking pretty sick. He was actually laying on the floor in the waiting room, just sort of covering his head like this with his arm, and he just wasn't feeling good at all.
Julie's husband spent a week in the hospital for his own infection from contaminated raw goat's milk. Since he was unable to help her take care of their daughter, Julie was forced to make the medical decisions on her own.
When my husband had to go into the hospital too, I felt really lost, and luckily my family came down to Kansas City, and people were with me most of the time, but it's not the same. I wanted him there. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make all the right decisions without him being there.
While Julie's husband was in the hospital, she stayed with her ailing daughter.
The next probably 2 weeks were just horrible. Just her pancreas shut down, her kidneys weren't functioning, so she had to have that dialysis constantly. Constant vomiting still, just pain like my daughter turned into a completely different person, just begging people. She would beg anyone that came in to help her with the pain.
Julie's daughter was diagnosed with an E. coli infection, which she got from drinking raw goat's milk. While in the hospital, she had to have blood transfusions and frequent insulin shots.
It was constant, just watch for something to go wrong and then try to fix it as fast as you can to hope that she didn't have a seizure or a stroke.
After a month, Julie's daughter had recovered enough to go home, but the health problems didn't end. Julie's daughter was still in pain and not acting like her normal 9-year-old self.
There was always something hurt. My stomach hurts, my head hurts, my legs hurt, my knee hurts. Constantly. Just aches and pains, and especially her stomach hurt all the time.
For Julie, the emotional strain of having 2 family members sick didn't sink in until after the ordeal was over.
If I had any idea that there was even a slight risk that something like this could happen, I would never, ever have taken that chance. She was so sick, and he was so sick, and I easily could have lost either one of them, really.
Julie had always been a very cautious mother. It wasn't until after the illnesses that she realized how uninformed she was about the risks of raw milk.
The risk in raw milk is not worth any kind of benefit you could ever get from it. It's just too big of a chance that you're going to not just, you could lose your life, but even if you don't, you could be sick for the rest of your life. You could have to have a kidney transplant. You could have seizures, strokes. It's just not worth it.